Hey everybody, welcome to the VSM Real Estate Podcast. This is André Anderson, your host. Got to turn down the volume after that one a little bit. Getting you closer to massively successful players in the real estate market here in the Twin Cities. As I said, André Anderson, joined today by Jakob Janssen and Josef Messelter.
See. So just to let everyone know, Andre just got back from a 13-hour flight, 2-week vacation over to Asia. You said 3 minutes in your car?
Yeah, it was like 20 hours.
Yeah. So if Andre sounds a little loopier than normal,
yeah,
he deserves to.
I deserve to. No doubt. Yeah, it was a good trip. But today we're gonna take it slow, nice and easy.
Yeah.
Just kind of talk, shoot the shoot the breeze. Right. So today we're just talking about recent changes in the real estate market, anything related to real estate. It looks like Jake has a lot of different topics with even pictures, so I can easily understand.
Yeah, storybooks for you. No, just I guess we're getting about halfway through the year here. Actually, exactly halfway through the year, and what's going on with the housing market? So I guess Joe, you're probably the most active in it right now.
I try.
Yeah.
I'm frozen.
What, 120 deals so far this year?
No,
Jeez.
but one of the most common questions that I get from people is certainly, how's the market doing? People that are looking to buy obviously want to know that they're still in a decent market to buy, and people that want to sell want to know they're in a. And a lot of times they don't exactly line up together. But what I will say is interest rates have continued to stay low and even dropping further. People are now refinancing that bought even 2 years ago. So
I bought a home in October and I just refinanced.
Yeah.
So,
It's just wild. It's wild. And, we still have inventory constraints. So the pent-up demand is out there. Rent rates are up there. So people are still gearing towards buying. I used to say back in 2017 that in 2020 it was going to be that pivot point or inflection point that things were going to change and the market was going to adjust. And mainly I said that because it was long enough so I didn't necessarily think I was throwing out some random number. And it was, I could also have some credibility.
So you pad your statistics?
A little bit.
You give yourself a wide margin of error?
A little bit.
It also correlates with the Olympics, So
yeah,
that's,
the housing market and the Olympics tie together. But
do.
no, I think, 2020, I still feel like there needs to be some sort of adjustment. I just don't know what it is because I'm still seeing momentum across all price points and buyers and interest rates and all that fun stuff. And we're not short on buyers. We're still short on inventory. And until that gets fixed, I think you'll still see the pent-up demand. If interest rates even rise to 5%, I think people need to realize that that's still very, very good interest rate.
Well, yeah, my folks said when they bought their house in 82 or whatever that they were at like 13.5%.
Yeah.
I mean,
how did people even invest or buy houses?
Well, didn't it cap out in the 70s at like 18.5 or something like
Prices
that?
Were way lower though. Think about that. My parents bought their house for $80,000.
Right.
And
that'd be what, $250 today?
Right. I wish, but it was more like $150, but still.
$150. Yeah.
Still a big inflation. No, you're in the market right now as a broker and an agent.
Yeah.
You're representing people. I'm in the market right now trying to be one of these stupid buyers. I'm so frustrated with this market because the inventory is so low. Like literally, it's saying schedule my showing, and then 20 minutes before the showing, highest and best by 7. My showing's at 7:30.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm constantly seeing that too, especially in certain price points where it's just super competitive because people have been looking for so long. And I had a deal recently where we wrote a very great offer, list price, day on the market, and somebody came in with full cash. I know you've talked about it, Jake, in your history. But what do?
Right.
We had a seller counter us at upping our down payment to 40% from 5%.
Whoa.
You can't control how much money we have.
Right.
We can't just manufacture 35 additional percent points.
When this closes, you're getting the exact same amount of money, regardless of what I bring to the table.
Like, hey.
We really like your offer, but we would like the other. I don't know if this I don't know the seller, so hopefully they don't watch this. Think I'm making fun of them, but they also asked for $20,000 in earnest money. Purchase price was $250.
Why the hell would you want that much?
And
earnest
we changed
money?
our offer to cash too, and they still wanted that earnest money.
Wow.
Why? Just because if you walk in that like 2% scenario, they get to keep your 20 Gs or what?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah,
well,
most of the time, unless it's like there's legitimate reasons for something to fall through or like extra assurance or maybe a history of things falling through before from different people or whatever, and then they're weary. Like $20,000 just seems like a little ridiculous.
On a $250, $20,000 on a $1 million house.
Yeah, and like that's maybe a month or two of mortgage payment.
Right.
So
and what if they're doing FHA at 3%?
Right.
we need you to bring 10% to the table, and you'll get 7 back. Don't worry.
I think the other thing that I've noticed with this kind of market, though, and the lack of inventory, is it gives sellers a really, really false sense of hope on the pricing of their property. So you'll give them a range of, call it $1 million to $2 million. They want to list at $3 million.
Yep.
You know, and so then that further squeezes out the buyers that normally would be going after those properties. Properties that, if you follow it, they've tend to sit a little bit longer. I mean, we were going. You hear stories all the time. My neighbor sold in 2 days. But now you're seeing the average sell time take 30 to 40 again because people are going out really
like that
aggressively.
first one I talked to you about that we maybe wanted to offer on, and we came to the conclusion that they were like, what, $30,000 overpriced?
Yep.
Based on land values in the area?
Yep.
I mean, is that happening a lot more?
I think so. And I think so, and I think it's really discouraging because you bring out a buyer and they see a house that they can afford, and then you tell them, hey, it's not worth that. And then you can't be competitive because you don't want them to be in a bad spot. You explain the appraisal difference, bring in the cash to the table. You know, I've got clients right now, very good friends of mine, that we've done this a couple times, and I'm like, guys, it's just not worth what they're asking, and we lose because of it. But I also am like, do you want to bring $20,000 to the closing table to make it for
and
them?
and then be fully subsidized basically on the value of the home, like you're fully financed.
Exactly. But I've seen deals recently where they bought it 6-7 months ago, and it's up 10%, and you're just like, they didn't do anything differently. They just different market,
It's true. So how close are we to the crash?
Not close.
No, you see the train rolling ahead like this
I
for a
said,
while.
You don't got that itch yet.
Like I said, 2017, I would have guessed 2020 was when it would adjust. I do not see a crash coming, period. A crash was what happened back in 08, 09, and there were very other big reasons why that happened. I do not think
fraudulent selling and lending practices.
Yeah, and most of those things don't exist. There's still some lenient things that happen, but I just don't see it that way. Plus, there's just so much pent-up demand.
So you think, because what was it, like 2 years ago they brought back the subprime market, although they call it something different, but it's essentially the subprime market.
Yeah.
You don't see that as having a short-term detrimental effect other than buyer pool?
Not really, and the job market's really been strong, and I just there's red flags because of all of our normal mindsets. What goes up must come down. Stock market's the same way. But when you actually look at the indicators, new construction sales is another one that people often look at. There's just not a lot that seems to be torpedoing, at least in our market. I can't speak for any of the coasts, Texas, or anything like that. If people watch this from any of those states, I'm not referring to anything but our little sub-market in Minnesota here, in Minneapolis, Twin Cities area, St. Paul. But, I don't think a crash is near. Something, the elections and all that stuff coming up could obviously sway everything. And that's not a political conversation. It just makes people uneasy.
Right, it's a fact.
Yep.
Uncertainty.
Well, so I've heard a couple of lenders recently, they put out their PSAs that new home financing applications are down, but refis are basically through the roof. Is that a response to the current inventory that's out there, or is it a response to continually low interest rates? Because, since I started trying to buy a house, you get the fact sheet, the number sheet back from the lender. The interest rate they're offering me now is 1.25% lower than when I started, which sounds like a lot over 3 months.
Yeah.
So is it that since there's no inventory, everyone's refining, or is it just completely separate?
I think both. I think mainly people are refining because it looks stupid if you don't. It's just the interest rate drops have been so significant that the closing costs associated with changing it
just minuscule.
Yeah, especially if you plan to stay in your house for a long period of time. If you're only planning, if you're going to plan on selling in September, there's no sense in refining right now. But if you're planning on being there a couple years, absolutely it makes sense. Your payment, when we refied, our payment stayed the same. We dropped 6 years off our loan, and our interest rate went down. We removed our PMI.
That's a big deal. That stuff sucks.
It was a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Like, we literally had the same payment, and we went to a 20-year loan, and we were at 26 years remaining, and our payment didn't change.
That's awesome.
I mean, we would have been dumb not to do it.
Right.
So.
So the market ain't going anywhere, and the houses aren't coming on. For the people in my situation,
he's got such the buyer lens with it. I'm like, get a realtor.
Well,
eyesight on it.
I have one. He's just very inexperienced. Anyways, so
he's done at least one deal.
Yeah, I've done one. I'm working on my second.
Yeah.
So but for the buyers out there, because there's a surplus of buyers, I've heard a couple people say that the market last year and the year before would cool off after that 4th of July holiday weekend, and then there's a lot less competition. It's easier to get into a deal. Do you see that as maybe being a repeat for this year, or is it operating under a whole different set of rules?
My honest answer, I want André to answer this one too, just to get your perspective. But my honest answer is most of us realtors are completely full of crap, and we kind of make up the story as it goes. Mm-hmm. But what I will tell you that has been seemingly repetitive every year is that the spring market is so insane, and people get so burned out, and then June and July hit, and it seems to just stop. And every year it freaks us out. Oh my God, is the market done? Is this it? Is this all the deals I'm going to get done this year? Are people done looking? And then, of course, it starts to pick back up after the summer settles in. The 4th of July gets done. August, you get through the bare heat of August, and then you get to that fall. And I've always said September and October are still decent months to sell in, because it's really easy to go look at homes during those months. Yep. Football season starts. It's my favorite time of the year. But there's usually a blip on the radar in a positive way in those months. And then November, December, January, just like.
It's Minnesota.
Yeah.
Nobody does shit.
No, not unless they're forced to, relocation, or they just got to get into something different. And that's usually when you hear, oh, I'm going to wait till the winter so I can get a good deal. And it's like, they're also the only properties on the market. So they also have that to their advantage.
Right.
Because I'm not telling any of my clients, wait till November 21st to list. List right before Thanksgiving, you'll make the most money. Well, if you're one of 3 houses out there that are in Woodbury, yeah, you probably have a little bit of leverage, even though it's the winter market and the buyer thinks they have leverage. So I think you can spin anything the way you want to spin it, and I think most of the time realtors do that. But my honest opinion is it slows down in June and July, and it just always happens, and we're always surprised by it. I don't know why. I'm always surprised by it, too. So my thought has always been, during these months, if you haven't listed already, you should hold off like a month. But if you're already listed, there's a good chance that there are a few buyers out there looking to still purchase, and you capture one of them because nobody else is coming on the market now.
Right, the ones who don't get burnt out and put a pause in their search.
Right.
Okay. True. Now, he wanted you to answer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, listen to your broker.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, broker.
Yeah, I don't want to fine you.
Okay. $300 non-compliance fee.
all of your commissions for the next 90 days.
No.
Ooh,
I have closings. I have closings in the next 90 days. So this isn't good.
That's why I'm doing that.
That's why you're doing that. Yeah, so I would agree 100% on, a lot of times realtors will just kind of bullshit different things. I've heard from one of our clients, or previous clients, I guess you could say, they're selling their house, and they're like, well, we're going to list with our realtor and whatnot. And that realtor had said the June and the August are months, and the markets are completely different universes. And I'm like, okay, there's maybe some subtle differences. They're not completely different universes, but
so they're trying to get them to go in June rather than drag their
sooner
feet.
rather than later. Yeah, of course. Yeah, so of course I understood what that was, but I would say that for the most part, right in May and probably the beginning of June, you have like a kind of a peak, and then it does do the lull in July, and this is both actually for the brokerage and then the management side. I've noticed too. And then it peaks back up in August right before, like August to Not into September really, but it's just before that.
Oh yeah,
school
no. Every
season.
year, the people who try to sell during the summer, and then they start getting August 1st, August 5th, and they're like, maybe it's not going to sell. Let's get a renter for the winter.
Yeah, and then, but for both the brokerage and the management, I've seen that August really is a good one right before school starts. So, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think fall is really a good time too. I think both falls that I've been here, I've had really good. Like a lot of money has came in during that time, so I always like fall. Yeah. Summer's really good, obviously too, but like I didn't expect fall to be so sweet, you know. So.
Well, and that could just be a perspective thing. I mean, if most agents are like, spring and summer are the time, and then I'm just going to mail it in during the fall and the winter and start prepping for next summer, the people who are staying steady and doing what they need to do, they could still have a good fall. Like you and I were talking about that on the Skyway the other day. The people who work through the summer preparing to have a good fall. Winter sucks for everybody.
For sure. The best time to absolutely list your home, in my opinion, is right after the Super Bowl all the way through, call it April. If you can list your home during that time period, it's usually the most traffic time period. So you can usually maximize your amount of money, but that doesn't mean May stinks. That doesn't mean September and October stink. The only months I think kind of stink are November, December, and January.
You've got the holidays and 60 below.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, this one might be a little bit more of a conversation for me and André, because this is something I've wanted to talk about here for a while, ever since I heard it first talked about. So this is going to be a slight shift over to the property management world, or the landlord world. City of Minneapolis they haven't voted on it, at least last I heard. They might have since I heard about it, but it was just originally proposed, which is basically starts a legislative conversation on drafting a bill that would then go to a vote, and then, if it passed, be enacted into law. And I want...
We're going to have to thread the needle about 30 times.
I just want to
and then in my head.
I just thought about, like, I'm just a bill on Capitol.
Yes. No, we need to bring back Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah,
Schoolhouse Rocks.
Is that what this is about?
God.
Schoolhouse Rocks?
No, but it should be.
Okay.
Like, if we got those animators and voice actors to do a commercial on it, it would be great.
Yeah.
He gets your commission for the next 90 days now.
Yeah, Jake.
Well, I mean...
Don't buy a house.
How long's it been since I've done it? Oh, yeah, crap. But I do want Joe to chime in with his layperson, civilian, whatever opinion, non-professional opinion.
Super professional opinion.
You are a broker.
I'm your broker, by the way.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
But you operate predominantly in the buying and selling world, not the management world.
Yes.
So I want to hear your opinions, but I'm not going to hold you to a broker's standard on those opinions.
But he is managing the buying and selling process.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He's responsible for all of it, in all honesty. So
True.
Whatever's under my purview, if I screw it up, it falls on his lap.
I am your boss.
We've never had this conversation. You're not my boss. You could just cancel my license and my place of business. So we've got some proposed legislation. I've got 3 different articles here, and I forgot to grab who published them, so my bad. But some of the proposed ordinances in the city of Minneapolis, and Minneapolis in the past has been a good indicator of what's going to eventually be adopted at the state level. They're proposing regarding Section 8. Let me get down to it here.
Is that your accent for this piece?
No, I'm not doing an accent. We've talked about this. So some of the proposed ordinance changes would limit how property owners can use criminal, credit, and eviction histories to screen tenants. Landlords would no longer be able to reject tenants for felony convictions older than 5 years. We currently operate on a 7-year standard as recommended by HUD. Misdemeanors older than 2 years.
Interesting.
Or for credit scores below 500. So, André, you're a landlord.
I am a landlord.
What are your thoughts on not being able to basically use any type of a criminal background check or deny people off of ridiculously, I shouldn't say ridiculous, stuff happens, incredibly
his
low.
landlord?
I am his landlord.
Okay, good.
Yeah, don't buy a house.
You're not my
money.
landlord. If you were, I would have talked about the renewal notice I got recently.
Oh, talk to me. I'm just kidding.
No, that's all right. My rent's going up by $15.
Oh, no, man.
Right.
A year or a month?
A month.
Oh, God
A
dang.
year.
A year.
We went 4 years without a rent increase.
$1.35 per month.
Right.
How much is a pack of cigarettes?
What city? St. Paul,
Paynesville.
Paynesville. Well, I think they're all. There's a state minimum. I don't know, about $8.50.
Okay.
$8.50.
Two packs of smokes.
2 packs of smokes.
Yeah. Or what? 3 Netflix movies, or not Netflix? 3 Amazon rentals.
Oh yeah.
I would never give up Amazon rentals.
Yeah.
Not for anything in the world.
No, it's great for placating the children.
Sidebar. Go ahead, Andre. Answer the question.
I will answer the question now.
What do you think about those recommendations?
So those recommendations, it seems like there's a general direction that they're trying to get things to go. I don't agree with that general direction, but the first kind of wave of demands, at least from the general direction, quote unquote, it's trying to go, isn't that really that bad in my opinion. Apart from maybe the misdemeanors, because like if there was something related to financial fraud or violent crimes that was in like a misdemeanor kind of sense, then it
like
would
a gross
be
misdemeanor or something.
Yeah. Then it would be a little more worrisome because it's only a 2-year timeline. I mean, people can change pretty fast. They can change, but
will they?
But will they? Yeah. I mean, most people generally don't. I would say, right?
Not in 2 years, at least.
At least not in 2 years. Yeah. I mean, unless like shit really hit the fan. And sorry, FCC. But
no, I think that's one of the okay words. Just no F-bombs, no racial slurs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But then again, you're multiracial, so do you get the hall pass?
I don't know, maybe.
Let's not try.
Multiracial.
You know, Singapore was amazing. It's like there's so much culture there. And
I'm sure there is.
Oh my God.
Culture means drugs.
Culture means drugs. Don't do culture, kids.
You know, as I read this, and I'm not involved in this as much as you guys are, certainly not. But I like the last quote. I find it hard to believe the city would walk into a bank in Minneapolis and tell them they could no longer use credit scores to underwrite for auto loan and mortgage loan.
That's crazy.
And I look at that the same way. As like anything you do in life is a reflection of your track record of doing so. You get into college by doing well in high school.
Yep.
So if we want to throw out SAT and ACT scores and just say, oh, you're a good person, you're getting into Harvard, and that's extreme.
No, but they got a standard. They're not going to take what's the low end, 1,100?
I think the idea is like people do make mistakes, and we don't want to screw them over for the rest of their lives by any means. But I think having having the ability to look over these things and say this is who I'm comfortable with living in the property that I own. Because I doubt that the city of Minneapolis is going to say, "Oh, darn it, they didn't pay your rent. We'll cover it for you."
Right? No, they don't. They don't. They don't.
They damaged the property. It'll cost about $50,000 to rehab. Yeah,
that's what I mean.
We got it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That part's a little frustrating to me, and it's just more control and things like that of somebody else taking more control of your property. They want to the Airbnb taxes and stuff like that. So I don't know. I personally don't. I'm not on board with this.
Well, I'll straight up say, because I probably operate most in the rental universe of any of us three, almost exclusively.
Yep.
I think they're BS. I see where they're coming from. They think that minorities or lower economic class people start off inherently disadvantaged, which I will admit in a bunch of situations is probably true, at least to a certain degree. But that would be the exception, not the rule. And anytime you make a rule for the exception, you are removing safeguards in place. Like, that's the trade-off for business. Like, I'm, as a landlord, Andre, you are monetizing a home that you own. You may or may not be financing it. That means you have monthly payments that you have to make. And you're planning on the revenue you generate from that home to make those monthly payments and still turn a profit at the end of the day. Whole purpose of business is not to provide jobs. It's not to provide benefits to the economy. It is to turn a profit. And if people can't make an educated decision on what the best business decision would be, that makes it a bad investment. So I hope they back on these. I see where they're coming from. I think it's entirely altruistic, and they're not trying to screw over landlords. They're just trying to deal with this multi-housing shortage that Minneapolis has, which they've got things like the 2040 plan to that's the one, right? Where it incentivizes people to raise a single family and convert it to a triplex or greater. Yep. I just don't think that's the way to go, because again, people can make bad decisions, anything can change, but they still should have to prove that they have reformed.
Not to mention the eviction process is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So like,
Even
not only can you not screen
Minnesota.
anybody,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you then have to be stuck with them.
Right, yeah, because it's $800 to $1,000 per eviction, and that's just for the court costs and the filing. That doesn't include if it goes to lockout. That doesn't include if the sheriff has to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be really expensive, and then, historically speaking, people who are going through an eviction don't care the most for the property. You might have a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 repair bill afterwards. So,
right.
I'd like to see. I mean, I see where they're going. I think there could be a middle ground that's met, but this isn't it.
Well, I wonder if the next thing is we can't limit based on income. you know,
that might be.
You make $3 a month. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Rent my $6,000 a month rental.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, we've seen those.
We've seen. Yeah. That's so true.
Hey, we screen for 3 times monthly verifiable income. No, I've got that. No, all right, lease drafting. Can I get your pay stubs? Oh, you only make $800 a month? That's a $900 property.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, my cousin's uncle, he helps me out.
Yeah. I could cash on the side. Don't worry about it.
Right. Don't worry about it. Oh, have you ever had that situation where you had somebody apply and you're like, I'm pretty sure he's a drug dealer?
You know, I always give people the benefit of the doubt.
But when there's red flags just popping up left and right.
Yeah.
What's wrong with drug dealers, first and foremost? We're not talking about them.
No,
yeah.
They're
a protected class, actually.
Yeah.
They're business owners, small businesses in America.
Entrepreneurs, yeah.
They're one of Minnesota's protected classes.
They are.
Oh man.
No, I think I think that this, if you think about, you know, the tools and leverage that's available to them, or to like the government in this case, it makes complete sense, because this is the easiest way to alleviate an issue. If you were to actually try to get at the root cause, that would probably be, you know, a lack of education on how to build credit score, how to financially hold yourself accountable, which 95 to 99% of people don't even know how anyway, right?
Right.
So, like...
They don't learn it anywhere.
Well, yeah, there's no opportunity to. Or, I mean, there's opportunity.
They would have to seek it out, but I think most of them don't know that the information's available. True. If they just didn't, like... We're the vending machine generation.
Right,
you know,
for sure.
It's
just given to you.
But you both make good points that this is a much larger problem than this is.
Right,
you know?
For sure.
Like, this is trying to put a Band-Aid on something to fix the problem short term, and it's going to create new problems like everything else in the world.
Yep.
If you don't get to the root problem.
Yep.
And so, you know, like, we look at it and we're like, oh, this doesn't make any sense for landlords, but at the same time, it's like they can't sit and do nothing either. So, like, we have to cut them some slack.
Right.
So it's always like that, though. Everything in the government, everything else, it doesn't matter which party you belong to. You know, they do one thing and it causes ripple effects down the other way.
Yeah.
And they don't do something, it causes ripple effects. If they don't do something, it makes some people mad, and if they do something, it makes other people mad. And so they're always in a lose-lose situation.
Well, that's why making... I'm about
back
to go
back to relationships.
Back to relationships.
So, it's always, if you make a policy based on an exception to the rule, that's bad policy. You always have to base your policy off of principles. And I don't see principles backing this policy. I see trying to solve a situation for a certain category of people. And that's why it's going to end up as bad policy.
I feel like it's just like a bloody blister you have on your foot, and you're trying to put a Band-Aid on it, but there's like a stick of dynamite on it.
I'm trying to picture that, and I'm disgusted.
Man. Don't play soccer barefoot on tennis courts. That's all you got. That's all you got now.
I won't play soccer first and foremost.
Yeah, or tennis.
What about football?
I like the football.
Yeah. Joseph?
You ain't getting me into an accent. I see what you're trying to do here. How about this one? First-time homebuyers are getting squeezed out by investors. Now, there's been a huge investor push for, 4 years? Maybe 5 years?
Investor push? What
do you
mean?
What's an investor?
Institutional investors or small property investors buying homes.
They've been hitting that since the recession happened, man.
Well, yeah, but there was still a bunch of first-time homebuyers or second-time homebuyers, owner-occupieds that were still a plurality of the market.
What are they saying in the article, though? I mean, like
this
who
is really
are
big
these
font.
who are these investors that are squeezing them out?
The picture is nice. It has a sold sign.
Yeah.
Pool of smaller, affordable starter houses is low, and increasingly first-time home buyers are competing with investors who are buying up the homes. Last year, investors accounted for 1 in 5 starter-priced homes, so 20%, according to data released by CoreLogic on Thursday. I've never heard of CoreLogic. Rate of investor purchases for starter homes has been rising and has nearly doubled since '99.
CoreLogic is who does MLS, I believe, isn't it? CoreLogic.
Oh, it is, yeah.
So, what I would say about this article is, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. You can spin it however you want. Yeah. To me, the problem is not investors, institutional or their otherwise. To me, it is lack of affordable homes, just driven by the fact the prices have gone up. People's affordability hasn't necessarily gone up. I do not think from the price point of $150 to $250 that you or anyone else is losing out to investors, unless it is a flip situation.
Right, which then a lot of people are limited by financing terms.
Correct.
Or the amount of bullshit they want to deal with.
Correct.
Right.
And so, I think about a couple that I had last year or the year before. We wrote 30 offers because we were in South Minneapolis. We were in that $200,000 to $300,000 price point. We wrote 17 offers, 17 offers. And,
those numbers, huh?
I don't think we lost out to any investors in those situations. Now, there were situations where we lost out to wealthy parents that had money that wanted to pay cash for a property,
That their kids were just going to trash.
Yeah. What did you just say?
Yeah.
No.
I told you about my first home buying situation where we got beat out by a dad paying cash for his college-age kid. You can't tell me that didn't become a frat party house.
Salty.
I think that was my dad. Again, this is a nicely written article by whoever wrote it and all that fun stuff, but I think it's first-time home buyers are getting squeezed out by rising prices and uptick in demand. Frankly.
So is that where the affordability index comes into the picture?
Affordability and like $150,000 price point is not a starter home anymore. It is a flip. Yeah. A $200,000 price point is a starter home for people depending on the area.
Or even a little higher, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you get way out farther, like St. Cloud, I sold my dad's house 2 years ago for $150,000 or something like that. Very nice house.
Yeah, I love St. Cloud prices in the metro region.
Right, and that's the whole point, though. So I'm not really saying, $200,000 is fair for every market or anything like that, but I don't know. I don't need to stand on a soapbox any longer, but I just don't get how it's. I didn't read the article, in fairness.
Oh,
so I could completely agree with what I'm saying.
A requirement.
And that maybe in Atlanta that could be true. And then you do have like the open doors that are taking properties off the market, improving them and raising the prices. So you've got stuff like that where I'd say it's investors, Zillow offers. Stuff like that, but I don't feel like I'm up against investors when I'm looking at a starter home for a person that will be able to move into it right away and start living in it.
So in this market, at the lower to mid-lower price point, you're not seeing a huge gobbling up going on.
I don't think Ryan, right? He's one of the investors we know. I don't think he's out looking at the same homes I'm showing my first-time home.
No, he's looking at 80 to 150 cash deals
that are in rough shape.
Yep,
really
put 50,000 into them.
I don't think that.
And they can't get financing for it. They got to pay cash.
Right.
Or you got to be very heavily cash or whatever.
Well, a lot of them are only on the wholesale market, and they got to set their terms. And they want a quick close, 15 days. All you have to do is title work, cash at the table.
But it could be true in Atlanta. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different market. So
you saw the one city of the person they interviewed for this article, and you're hanging on that.
Well, yes, I am.
Yeah, we can ignore this one. This one's going to go way too deep, and I'm not even excited about it.
Not even excited.
I mean, I was when I read it, but it would not make good.
Ooh, yeah.
It would not make good material.
No, I think if I want,
you saw Supreme Court just stuck it back in the pack.
If I want,
and we'll just push that over here.
I think this podcast is about educating people and helping them understand what's going on out there, and I think what's going on out there is you have to be competitive and you have to be realistic and you have to be grounded in the numbers.
Yep.
Like if I wanted to give 3 messages away, it would be those things. Like you can't list your house for 20% over what it's worth. Even if it sells, you're going to run into problems. when you're writing offers, you have to be competitive. Sometimes that's going out of your comfort zone a little bit. Sometimes it's not. But it's got to be grounded in the numbers very lastly, right? Like, you can't go and offer $250 for a house that's worth $200 because somewhere down the road it's going to cause a problem.
Yep.
And so, you know, it doesn't matter if you're working with a realtor or working with VSM or trying to buy a house yourself or trying to sell your house for sale by owner. You have to be grounded in the numbers, and you have to take those things into consideration. And I feel like a lot of people lose that when they start to get burned out. Then all of a sudden, you know, you guys will find your next place and just go completely off the beaten path. Like, oh yeah, let's just go 20 higher to, let's go off 20 higher.
My personality won't let me do that. Like, I'm still not going to be
So you
dumb.
won't do that, or you won't do accents?
Man.
Right, I won't.
That's the worst combination.
I won't make a dumb purchase, and I won't do accents that I suck at. If you had to pick, I mean, if I had to pick, I'll probably do an accent on the next podcast because I'm not offering over.
There's the commitment.
But so, well, our fearless leader, Ryan Schroeder, he said, and this is not, he's fearless. Admitted this is all. He might hear this. He says it's all subjective. It's all his personal opinion based on how the market feels. But he says it feels a lot like the 2006, 2007 market as it was ramping up and people were overpaying for properties left and right. What are your guys' thoughts on that opinion?
Well, he's been saying that for about 2 years at least, I would say. But I mean, I would agree with it but I didn't experience it myself. That's the thing too, right?
Yeah, you were like, what, 5?
Yeah, maybe 3. I don't know. You know, I was still in high school, and I had everything real estate was just, you know. But yeah, no, it does. I see some similarities from what I've heard in the past from people that are more experienced and people that lived through that time. It does seem like there's a lot of correlations. You know, I can't say for sure because most people are talking from hindsight, so they already knew about the causes, like when I talked to them. But had I talked to them back then, I'm not so sure they would have known the causes either. Kind of similar to if something were to correct or there was a huge crash or something like that were to happen, it's probably something that's kind of boiling, you know, deep in the Earth's crust.
Right.
Like, and then
there's only like 2 people out of 7 billion that could predict it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And then it'll blow like, you know, St. Helens. So yeah.
What are your thoughts? Do you think he's onto something there, or do you fundamentally disagree, or academically disagree, or are you a yes man for him?
I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth, of course.
Okay.
Like
I love those
like
answers.
a politician would. Yes, I think people are generally more aggressive, overpaying for houses maybe a tad. Nothing that I've seen has been just egregious, but maybe that's because I'm trying to temper people back a little bit. But while we talk about starter homes not being affordable anymore, interest rates have allowed affordability to grow, purchasing power to grow, and so I think you're seeing these homes that, you know, maybe are worth $200 being worth $230 now because people can afford the payments.
Because the interest isn't screwing them.
So it brings your overall payment down every month and that kind of thing. I, like André, did not experience it in the market. I mean, I was studying abroad in 2006. And
which broad?
Which broad?
But
he makes jokes, but he won't do accents.
Come on, man.
It's just beyond me. Like, you act like a 7-year-old and you won't do accents. It's ridiculous.
Right. Maybe in the future.
But no, so I don't know. I don't know how to compare it. You know, you watch the movies, you study all the books, and do all that stuff, and I do not see the same leading causes of that problem being the same leading causes here. Now, could there be other causes we're not aware of that'll sneak up after us, and we'll realize, oh yeah, I guess that was a problem. That could happen, but I don't see an end in sight. I've been saying for 3 years, much like him, that the end is near. The inflection point's here. It's coming, and I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing it slow down.
What about that inverse yield curve that we were hearing about? You know, like probably like 5 months ago.
If I remember, the inverse yield curve hit like 2.5 or 3 months ago, but then I never heard any and I'm not talking about our in-house lending mentioning it. I heard it on
you heard it everywhere.
Mainstream and social media companies. But then I never heard anything about it after that. So I don't know if it dipped back below or if people just realized that it's not as important of a metric as they thought it was. Have you heard more about it?
No, but I will. As I think about, and I don't sit at home and think about real estate nonstop. Believe it or not.
Only on the drive.
Drive home, yeah. Drive home, it's all real estate all the time. But as you think about all these companies, Zillow Offers and Open Door are kind of the two that come to mind. I kind of look at them as probably like a Renter's Warehouse, where Renter's Warehouse attacked a problem kind of after the fact, I think, because I can't really track back the origin of it, but I think it was probably as the market already headed down, right?
Yeah, it was after it headed down, and then, the founder was in a position where he wasn't like in traditional real estate, so he decided, I'm just going to start calling this Craigslist ads and saying, if I can lease your house, will you pay me?
So I look at these companies, Zillow Offers, Open Door, and all of the things like it, they are not building themselves to attack the market that we're in now. So I think there's people, obviously, that have started these companies that believe that the market is going to go down again. I think they're buying properties now, yes, to capitalize on short-term gains, but they're positioning themselves with the amount of cash and everything else to go after a down market. They'll probably turn some of it into rentals, and then they'll flip them when the market comes up again.
Yeah. So I want to drill down on that a bit because I've never heard anybody say that. So
First time I thought of it, actually.
You think that they are, the 10 moves ahead chess, that they're like, we're going to spend our money here and set our business model up like this. We'll break even now or a little better, but we'll make a killing when the shift happens. And you see it like with Redfin, 1.4 listing fee, which is kind of a deceptive advertisement anyways. But so you think that's where all this is going, is they're trying to prime themselves for a correction?
Not Redfin necessarily, because I don't, they don't have a cash offer. I think they do have they're getting rid of buyer's agents or something like that in certain markets, but the Open Doors of the world and those types of places that are buying up cash, kind of like the whole market deal, I just feel like they are positioning themselves long term to really capitalize on the upcoming market, because they're going to be the ones able to buy all these properties. They're going to have and they're going to have the experience.
They're going to have the multi-millions in the bank.
And people are going to know who they are.
Yep.
So when the market, let's say it tanks in 2022, just goes horrible down, they're going to have the money. They might have some inventory at that point. They're going to have the wherewithal, the exposure, and you're going to trust them. You're going to say, oh, the market's down. Oh, my God, I need to get out of here. I could send it over to Renter's Warehouse, and they could rent it out to me, or I'm going to go to Open Door and just get a cash offer.
Right.
And if that cash offer is anywhere near sanity, gone. And then that market comes back, and maybe Open Door at that point starts renting those properties.
Yeah.
And they have that.
They already have the infrastructure.
In the last downturn, and I understand for all three of us, it's academic because none of us were in real estate at the last downturn. But what was the portion of people who were able just to get out from under their mortgage at a net break even, a net zero or better?
Well, VSM started a lot with homeowners that were going to probably lose their homes.
They would have been net negative or a total loss.
Right, for sure. And a lot of townhomes, condos, single-family homes that I sold last year, selling this year, most of them were just looking to break even or make a little bit of profit after it, because they weren't really intending to be landlords. They just didn't want that negative credit hit. They didn't want to lose a lot of money,
or to have to go to the closing table with $30,000 or
right, for sure, exactly. So a lot of the clients that we've served have kind of fallen under that umbrella, and I forgot what the original point of the topic was.
That's all right. You're going off of 3 minutes? 2 minutes of sleep?
Yeah,
but
2 hours
you
and 3 minutes.
Think about even like the lending practices back then, right? Like interest-only loans, super popular, especially for investment properties.
Yeah, no documents.
If I would have known what I know now, I would own 3 rental properties and a gorgeous single-family home.
Why only 3?
Why? Well, because I'm still not totally stupid.
But think about that, though. I won't name names, but I know people that are still paying interest-only loans. They have no equity because they've never paid anything off, and so they're not wanting to be landlords type thing. So.
Still no equity, though? So this must have been after the crash, or before the crash, I mean?
Well, think about you
So
bought a
go
house
back
in
up to where it was.
2006, let's say, for on interest-only payments, and
it
it's
was
an
a really
investment
high price.
property.
Yeah.
Good luck refinancing if you don't want to dump 20% into it.
Right.
By the way, a lower value. It's just not. It all doesn't add up.
So it's not just 20%. It's more like 45% to get it back to its value plus 20%.
Correct. So, much like André, I have no idea what I'm talking about anymore, or what I'm answering.
If you need to know anything about VSM, we're brutally honest.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty much gone through all the topics I had to talk about. What's some of the things you guys are noticing in the market, or are we ready to call it quits? I mean, not quits for good, but
let's cancel VSM. let's shut it down.
You can talk to Ryan about that.
Yeah, I didn't suggest it.
I'll cancel your licenses and then we'll cancel all of it.
Yes.
I just paid my renewal.
Did you?
Sucks to be you.
The company did.
I tried not to renew yours. No, I think we hit on all the key points. I think, if you're a buyer out there, much like you are, Jake, that, it seems to be competitive and hopeless, stay the course, obviously, and try and keep rent and stuff like that flexible. A lot of times I think people are like, well, I just signed a year lease, so I'm not going anywhere. And it's like, hey, what if we get them to pay your closing costs? What if we
That's a termination fee right there.
Right. There's a lot of different ways that we can work around that. Most places will let you sublet it, but you are responsible for it until you fill it. Or you have to pay the cost of refilling it if it's with the management company. So the daunting costs of getting out of your lease are not really as bad as they may seem. So if people are out there that are looking for properties and they just signed a lease, I don't think they need to feel like they're so locked in, and it should give them comfort because now they can be picky and go after things slowly but surely. But I think if you're to put a plug in for the brokerage side of things here, if buyers are out there not looking around with agents that are running numbers and educating them on the value of the property that they're interested in, they need to switch agents because a lot of times I'll even be on the listing side, and sometimes I'm like, well, this offer's ridiculous, and and I'm like,
I've seen that.
That's one thing I can say about our agent base is they're honest to a fault. They will not lie. I've seen people where they said, no, I told them it would be worth $260, and I lost the deal to this other agent who told them $290, and then 3 months go by, and they came back because the person who was honest and not telling them pie in the sky numbers just to get their 6%.
Yeah, they call that buying the listing, and it's not worth it because you spend every week explaining why it's not selling at that ridiculous price. It's not worth your time, their time, and at the end of the day, you get fired for the agent that was realistic for sure. So
I don't need those negative vibes.
Yeah, we just need positive.
You need
vibes.
sleep.
Those are good vibes.
I think before we go, though, I would very much like you to do an accent.
No, I just thought about it. No. You almost had me.
The audience
snuck that in there.
The audience demands it.
I'll tell you what, I'm not on Twitter, but if I get a bunch of Twitter comments, I'll do one.
I see what you did there.
Yep.
Please tweet at Jacobiansu.
We will start
Some random guy in Nebraska is going to get
Nebraska.
2 tweets. All right.
No doubt.
Well, I think we're done.
Yeah, well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. We'll do more of these kind of more casual podcasts talking about updates in the market. Again, thank you so much for listening. I thought it was